It's possible, very, very much possible, even though I'm not 100% sure, but it's very possible because the meal has certain variety options. Maybe rice with fish, potatoes with chicken, or something with meat, goat meat or something. So it's possible when the varieties are brought. So it's possible to have the same meals with your passengers. That's fine, depending on which variety that you are choosing. Okay, because it looks like we also choose from the same variety of meals on the menu. Are you okay? But there's one thing that's interesting to know, that between myself and my crew or my co-pilot or my other colleague, we are not supposed to eat the same meals at the same time. Okay, so we always have different options. If I choose this option, he or she has to choose another option. If he or she insists on the same option that I chose, he or she has to eat, at least 2 hours, minimum of 2 hours. Some airlines have some policies of 30 minutes. 30 minutes is a bit too on the borderline side, because food poison, it is a belief through research that if the food is really poisoned, sometimes it can manifest even after an hour, not 30 minutes. So you will think, oh, 30 minutes, nothing is happening, so I'm going to eat the same thing. Then guess what? 1 hour into the flight, both of you are poisoned. So some airlines have varied that eating lead time. Some have it 30 minutes, some have it 1 hour, some have it 2 hours. 2 hours is more than safe. Are you okay? That's if you insist eating the same meal. Are you okay? So between ourselves, we are not supposed to eat the same meal, but with the passengers, it's very much possible. If I choose this option, it's possible that some passengers are choosing the same thing at the back. So that's it about our meal policy. In truth, the requirements needed to enter flying academies change over time, over decade, depending on the school, depending on what career you want to take in the pilot space. For example, we have schools that train pilots or groom pilots to be airline, if I say professionals. We also have schools that groom pilots to be just for fun, flying clubs. We also have schools that groom pilots for agriculture purposes, medical emergency purposes, corporate jet purposes, etc. But for the airline, for the F2 to be an airline pilot and to go into an academy that grooms for airline piloting, things have evolved and changed over the period of the last 5 decades. Are you okay? So if you are going as a private person, last year you're getting sponsorship from your family or friend or something like that, what is actually needed is a high school diploma. And like I said in the initial videos, the passion to do it. Are you okay? You have to have a medical, first class medical by an approved aviation medical examiner. Those were the things that you actually need. The high school was enough. If you want an airline to sponsor you, that's if you've seen the advert in the newspapers and the airline Air Force, and they are recruiting people to train as ab initio. Ab initio simply means from scratch. Then that one, they will state their specifications in the advert, and it's very simple and straightforward. You will see it, and if you have what it takes, you apply. If you don't have what it takes, then you don't qualify for that bracket, that category. Are you okay? Now, there are some schools who also just insist, for the sake of, depending on their policies, they insist that you must have maybe an A-level degree, college degree with some sciences and everything. Some schools insist, are you okay, that you have that one. Here again too, when you inquire from the school and you have whatever it takes for you to enter, that's fine. Some also have a way to work around it, even though they said, you have to have a college degree with this or physics or that. They have a way they work around it, okay? And all these things will be explained whenever you are making the enquiries. But with from personal experience and advice, for you, all this is just to ensure that you go through the program without a snag. Because in the flying schools, unlike the universities, where sometimes you can take a semester off, go and do something and come back and, break it here. On this midterm, you defer this, and tomorrow you are deferring this exam. The next day you are deferring this assignment. With the flying program, is structured in such a way that the learning curve is very steep. So all these safeguards are just there to ensure that the candidate goes through with minimum, if I say minimum glitch, stitch, or snags. Are you okay? That's why it's there. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you have it, you are better than the one who doesn't have it. No. Once you have the passion, you have your medical fitness, and these two things are and you are above the age of 16, it depends on which license you are going for, you are good to go. But personally, I would advise that in high school, concentrate in the areas of geography where weather is very important. The weather is very important. If you have some understanding in that, that's fine. When it comes to the mathematics, yes, high school and even those in of us here where we do SHS core science, it's enough. Just understand what is going on. Understand the subject that you do in geometry. Understand some of the other things you do in pure maths. Just understand it is fine. Are you okay? If you have the grades, all the better. But understanding is what is more key whenever you are in a flying academy. So it depends on what the flying academy says. Technically, if you are going privately, you have to have a high school degree with certain specializations in maths, geography, with weather science, climatology specific. Are you okay? Now, basically, that's what it is, you know, to join, basically. Private instrument multi-engine program. That's somewhere like 2/3 to 3/4 into the program. You stop at private pilots with an instrument rating and a multi-engine. Question is, can you do anything with it? You are really limited. Not for the airline, no, because the word private simply means for yourself. You're flying for yourself. You cannot charge anyone for the services that you render. So the fact that you cannot charge anyone for the services that you render means that airline is out, corporate out, air ambulance out, agriculture out. It's just yourself. You've gone to see a private jet, you like it, you buy it, you want to fly it yourself, you don't need anyone to fly it for you. Yes, you can stop at a private instrument multi-engine. That's yourself. Of course, the advantage here is with your instrument rating and multi-engine, you are not restricted with weather, you are not restricted with aircraft. It's fine. Are you okay? Even though it's more advised to get a commercial. But like I said, if you know you are flying for yourself, private instrument multi-engine is fine. If you want to go out there to charge someone for your services, you need a commercial pilot license. That's a notch above the private pilot license. And basically, that's what it is. Then shall come a time, so many of us will have so many business jets, and maybe the private instrument multi-engine to fly for ourselves will be useful. Certified flight instructor. Okay, it also has its grades. Are you okay if I should say, or its steps? So certified flight instructor, is knowing how to impart knowledge. Then you have to add what you call certified flight instructor instruments. That's because the CFI, certified flight instructor instruments, instrument rating, and obviously they also multi-engine rating. All right. Whenever you are done with the commercial pilot license, there are two options. Those of us who want to go into the airline space, obviously you start applying for the airline, and the career progression video, I have more details on that, what happens after you apply to an airline. There are some who also want to stay in school, just like any other course, and sometimes in the schools and the universities. Some people also graduate from universities and they want to start training or teaching in the same universities that taught them. That's fine. It's not everybody who really wants to go into industry. Some people also want to stay in academia. It's the same thing that we have over here too. You can also decide to stay in academia. After your commercial pilot license, instrument rating, and multi-engine, you can decide to stay in academia. So what happens is that you go for a 2 weeks course in what you call, of course, it has also a set of fees and requirements. But obviously, if you've met the requirements, the basic requirement is a commercial pilot license with instrument rating and multi-engine. You've met the main requirement. The next thing you have to do is, it also has its fees and whatever you pay the school. And after doing all those things, you need about 2 weeks in the ground school to do what we call fundamentals of instruction. You are just going to, it's like a teacher training college, 2 years crystallized into 2 weeks. Are you okay? Where you're going to learn things like the learning process, human behavior, communication skills, the teaching process, coming up with lesson plans, and how to implement your lesson plans, and how to evaluate. Basically, this is what fundamentals of instruction is about. And if you pass that written exam, then you now start going into the school's aircraft, and you now learn how to apply what you've learned in the fundamentals of instructing course onto the aircraft, where now the instructor now behaves like a student, and now he sits in the left and you are in the right, and it depends on what lesson you have to do for the day. And it's like you are applying all that knowledge of fundamentals of instruction to teach, flying. There are two different things: teaching in the ground school and also teaching on the aircraft. So it's also another option. Like I said, you can it's another option available to you after the commercial pilot license, instrument rating, and multi-engine. You can choose to be a certified flight instructor. Aircraft dispatcher course or flight operations course. Okay, actually, like I told you in the career progression session, what a day is like for a pilot is he reports to work, and his first point of call is dispatch. It has so many names. Some people call it dispatch office, some people call it flight operations control, some people call it operations control center, OCC. You hear things like OCC, FOC, AD, so many names. But actually, that's the heart or the nerve center of the whole airline. The heart and the nerve center is one of the centers in the airline that do not go on break. It's one of the centers of the airline that when you see the light bulb in the room, it's been on for maybe ever since the airline was launched. It could be sometimes the light bulb can be on for 40 years. Okay, and the people just run shifts. Are you okay? Because just a break, you just need 2 minutes break to put all the aircrafts belonging to that airline into confusion just because FOC did not work. So that's why people call it the nerve center, or people refer to it as the heartbeat of the airline, because just like your heartbeat, all you just need is about some seconds to go off, and the whole human body is kind of in disarray. Same thing over here. Basically, we report to them, and by that time, they are supposed to look for the weather, the meteorology, and detailed weather to brief us, the aircraft status. They liaise with all units of the airline to ensure that the aircrafts are dispatched safely out of their hands. And when we are being dispatched, there's also a unit, a sub-unit in that whole FOC, OCC aircraft dispatch, which monitors our flights till we get to the other side. And they monitor it from the other side back to base. Are you okay? They monitor our altitudes, our time, when are we going to get there, so that they can also inform the other station about arrival time and all the things that the ground staff need to do on the other side. They do it and stuff like this. It's kind of the nerve center. Everybody keeps calling them, and you see on your screen, what an airline dispatch center looks like. It's a very good career, and it's also for people. I've seen people who are graduated out of aircraft dispatchers to become pilots. It's fine because actually it's the same theory subjects we learn in ground school, in flying school, that the aircraft dispatcher does, or the flight operations controller does. Are you okay? Same subjects, the same meteorology, the same navigation, flight planning, the same things that they do, because they are supposed to understand the whole industry like us or better than us, because they are the ones coordinating for safe flights. Are you okay? Sometimes we have what you call shared responsibilities. In some airlines, we have shared responsibilities between the captain and the dispatch unit in terms of decisions to whether to operate the flight on schedule, delay it for some time, maybe due weather or any technical issues, or maybe cancel the flight. Sometimes it's a shared responsibility between the dispatch unit and us. So basically, it's the core or the nerve center of an airline, which sees to the safe, if I say, dispatch of aircraft from base to destination and back to base. So whenever they furnish us with all these informations I need for safe flight, there is something they issue me, what we call a flight release form. They issue the captain what we call a flight release form. It's just showing that when the captain signs the flight release, that means he's satisfied with all the information given to him and he thinks it's okay to go. And that is when I also proceed and go and brief with my flight attendants, and from there we go on to the aircraft. And they monitor everything, or everything is being monitored. Most of them have screens, most of them have radar. Most of them have radar there to know where the aircraft is. All the aircraft, some people manage 300 aircraft, some people manage 5,000 aircraft, and they know at each point in time where each aircraft is. They communicate with us as much as possible. They give us all the support we need as much as possible, and they take certain details from us as much as possible and track our operational reports when we get back. Something we call our flight logs and all the navigation logs. They track it, they file it. There's also a unit in that dispatch session which deals with crew scheduling, because whenever the airlines become more, the aircraft become more in that airline, crew scheduling now becomes more complex than you think. It's not just writing a timetable. Now you have to put it into a software to know when these guys are supposed to go on flight, their rest periods in between. They deal with every manner, every aspect of operation. That's why operation in itself is seen as a nerve center of the airline. So yes, you can also choose a career there. High school, university is fine. If you want to go to university before becoming a flight dispatcher, I would recommend things like a degree in statistics is fine. See, when you have statistics under your command, it's fine. Any IT related subject is also okay. And also with your meteorology, just like the pilot session, your geography, specializing in meteorology is also very helpful for operations like that. Very interesting operation. They're actually friends of the cockpit, and they really know what's happening, in the cockpit space. So yes, the career is also linked to piloting career, because some people do it, practice it for some time, and all they just have to do is come and do the practical side of their work, which is the flying bit. So that by the time they get to the practical side of their work, they are well equipped with the ground stuff, the ground theories and everything, and it's very easy for them. Some also like to choose a career, like I said, be in it for some 5-10 years before moving on, and it's fine. And that's how we are linked. We always work together with providing the necessary information needed for safe dispatch and arrival. I'll do more on this whenever we're on the aeroteens video, where we're going to take about each career and talk about the nerve center of the airline.